Today we're going to talk about the new 16 to 55mm f2.8 lens from Fujifilm. Now, this is a relatively new addition to the Fujifilm lineup of lenses, and it's, I think, one of the first short zoom fast zoom lenses from Fujifilm. Now, what we're going to talk about is the build, the design, the performance, and finally the value of this lens. As you can see, this is a pretty thick lens. It has a constant aperture of f2.8, which goes up to, in clicks, to f22. Here we have the aperture mode, so you can hear the clicks. We have a zoom ring in the center. As you can see, the zoom extends, so it's not a very large length extension, but it does extend. So this is 16mm and this is 55. The third ring that we have is the focus ring. It's smaller, it's in the front. It moves very smoothly, but it is a fly-by-wire ring, just like other Fujifilm lenses. So you either love it or hate it. We don't necessarily hate it, but we do prefer normal lenses with no fly-by-wire ring. But this is how Fujifilm cameras and lenses work. The lens communicates with the body, and the body talks back to the lens and moves the autofocus. Now, in terms of the actual size of this lens, we tested this on the X-T10, and the X-T10 is a pretty small camera, and the problem with it is that this lens is too thick, which means that it protrudes slightly from the bottom. So if you put it on a flat surface, this lens touches the surface. So either the body moves, wobbles, or more problematically, if you like, the body, if you put it on a tripod with a long plate, the zoom ring will touch the plate, which means that you won't be able to actually change the zoom. So this is a problem. On the X-T1, it shouldn't be a problem. We didn't test it on the X Pro one, but we are hoping that it won't be a problem as well. But on the X-T10, it is a problem, so keep that in mind. All in all, the build quality of this lens is very, very good. It belongs to the XF series, which is the professional series of lenses from Fujifilm, and it does show. So this is in terms of the actual build quality. So let's talk about the performance of the 16 to 55mm f2.8 lens from Fujifilm. Now, you can see some examples, some test images that we have shot on the screen right now. Wide open, at f2.8, in the center of the frame, the image looks pretty sharp. In the corners is not as sharp. When you close down to about f4, the image becomes sharper in the corners as well. And from there on, the image is pretty sharp. The image quality in general is pretty good, and we have tested this on the Fujifilm X-T10. In terms of autofocus performance, it performs very well. Again, for a Fujifilm camera, the focus was pretty fast, even in relatively low light situations. So it was better than the 56mm APD that we have tested, and you can see the review of this lens as well on LensVid. So all in all, the image quality was pretty good, especially if you close down to about f4. We also tested the barrel distortion and vignetting. Not a lot of issues with both of them. We did face some issues with shooting in direct light. This lens performs not as well as the 56mm APD, but this is to be expected. These are not lenses of the same level, and we also didn't have the hood. This lens didn't come with a hood. We're not sure if it comes naturally with a hood, but we didn't get it with a hood. So this is something to keep in mind. Now let's go and talk about the value of this lens. So let's conclude this review of the Fujifilm 16 to 55mm f2.8 lens. This is a very interesting lens. Both Nikon and Canon have similar lenses, and it's no surprise that Fujifilm is coming up with this version. Now, in terms of the design and the build quality, this is a pretty large lens, and as we have mentioned on the X-T10 review, it's a bit too big for the X-T10. If you're using the X-T1 or maybe the X Pro one, it might not be such a problem, but on the X-T10, it's actually too big. It's too big in terms of the width of the lens. It goes a bit below the camera itself, so it's not good to put it on a table or on a tripod with a long plate. It's a problem. But it also, the balance is not very good because the lens is heavy and the camera isn't. So this is in terms of the X-T10. If you're using the X-T1, it's not supposed to be such a problem. But it is a big lens. It is a bit heavy and it does extend. So these are things that you have to keep in mind in terms of the design. Now, in terms of performance, the performance was very good. Wide open on the corners, not as sharp as we would like to see, but if you close down a bit to about f4, it's not a problem. We tested it at the same time that we have tested the 56mm APD, and obviously both lenses are not comparable. The 56 is much sharper, but this is the APD is a prime, this is a zoom lens. They have different apertures, so it's really not a surprise. Now the question is, for $1,200, is it worth it? Well, if you're looking for a wide to normal range fast lens for the Fujifilm camera, again, X-T1, X Pro 1, not the X-T10, this is definitely a pretty good solution, very solid solution from Fujifilm. You can read more on our full review on LensVid.com.